Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're opening a really fascinating window into the history of empire.
Right. And specifically how information, how it was almost weaponized for political control.
Exactly. Long before fiber optics or anything like that,
hmm
we're deep diving into the Abbasid barid.
And you might think, okay, medieval mail, maybe some guys on horses.
Yeah, maybe a bit dusty, slow.
Yeah.
No, forget that. This wasn't just messengers riding between towns.
I don't know. The barid was the Abbasid Caliphate's really highly sophisticated state postal service, but it was more, wasn't it?
Much more. Crucially, it doubled as a central intelligence and surveillance network. This thing anchored the empire from 750 CE for centuries.
So our mission today really is to get under the hood of this system, to look past the post office label and see it for what it was. A piece of transformative administrative tech.
How did it move information,
Yeah.
military orders, tax stuff, spy reports faster than basically anyone else?
Yeah, and how did that speed let the Abbasids govern on a scale that was just, well, unprecedented back then?
That scale is so important here. I mean, the Abbasid Caliphate was huge.
Absolutely sprawling North Africa all the way to Central Asia.
Managing that kind of territory across deserts, mountains, I mean, that's what usually breaks empires.
It often does.
Mm.
But the barid, you could argue, was the sort of structural glue holding it all together.
Okay.
And the infrastructure needed for that. It was staggering. This wasn't some private enterprise.
No, it was a state monopoly, a huge central organization.
Yeah, needing serious budget lines, constant resources, just to keep it efficient.
Okay, let's unpack how they actually built this network. You said it wasn't just about the fastest horse. It was about continuity.
Relentless continuity. That's the key. The physical math behind it was all about the relay.
The relay system.
Exactly. They set up these fixed stations, staging posts called manazil,
Okay.
and they placed them strategically, roughly 40 kilometers apart.
About 25 miles. And that distance wasn't just random.
Oh, no, not at all. It was basically the maximum distance a horse could go, flat out without breaking down.
Right. Without risking exhaustion or failure.
So when a rider pulled into a station, probably exhausted, they didn't stop to rest the horse or grab water.
No downtime.
Minimal downtime. The station was already stocked. A fresh rider, a rested horse boom, ready to go, transfer the pouch, and off they gallop.
Wow. So the state was kind of treating the horse and rider like replaceable parts in a machine.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Swap them out constantly to maintain top speed.
That must have cost a fortune. Feed, stables, staff.
Yeah.
Did the sources give us a sense of just how resource-intensive this was?
Oh, monstrously expensive. We know from records that maintaining and stocking the barid stations was a huge chunk of the caliphate's annual budget.
A deliberate trade-off, then. Huge costs for huge control.
Precisely. They needed dedicated breeding programs for the best horses, often these specialized lighter Nizar horses.
Right.
And they had to pay professional riders, skilled guys, loyal to Baghdad, crucially, not to some local governor.
Ah, that's a key difference. Totally unlike, say, feudal Europe at the time, where it was more ad hoc, depending on local lords.
Exactly. The Abbasids standardized everything, resources, people, speed across continents.
Okay, which brings us to the logistics of medieval speed. Here's where it gets really interesting. How fast are we actually talking?
Yeah, this is where you really see the impact.
If the system's running perfectly, what's the time advantage?
Let's take a major route. Baghdad, the capital, to Cairo in Egypt. Critical administrative hub.
Okay, how long would that normally take? A traveler? Maybe an army?
Easily 45 days, maybe even 60 days, depending on conditions.
Wow, okay. Months, potentially.
Right. But through the barid network, an urgent message, a top priority dispatch.
Yeah.
12 to 14 days.
12 days. Baghdad to Cairo. That's
Yeah.
revolutionary.
It completely changes the game for governance, doesn't it? It's the
Yeah.
difference between hearing about a revolt 2 months late or 2 weeks late.
Massive difference. So what were the technical details making that speed possible? We mentioned fresh horses. What else?
It was a combination of things, all working in sync.
Okay.
First, like we said, professional riders, often working in shifts, allowing for 24-hour operation. They'd ride through the night if it was urgent,
Non-stop.
pretty much. Second, the routes themselves. They were mapped, maintained, state-secured. Fewer worries about bandits or getting lost.
Right. Minimizing delays.
But maybe the most important thing, rigorous standardization of the message itself.
What do you mean, like special envelopes?
Sort of. Messengers carried special seals, maybe codes, proving who they were and the urgency level.
Ah, so they got priority.
Guaranteed priority, fresh supplies, immediate onward travel. No local official, no matter how powerful, could just hold up a certified barid message.
That security and priority is critical. So if you're running this massive empire, that speed wasn't just nice to have.
No, it was the engine. Think about it.
Yeah. For you, the listener, this meant merchants could get timely info on prices in far-off cities. Generals could get tactical updates fast enough to actually use them.
And that efficiency, that speed, it gets even more interesting because of the barid's dual purpose.
Right. You mentioned it wasn't just fast mail.
Exactly. It was the caliph's eyes and ears. This is where we shift from logistics to, well, strategic intelligence.
Okay, how did that work? The postal stations weren't just stables then.
Far from it. They were designed as strategic checkpoints. You could call them listening posts.
Listening posts.
Yeah. Every rider, every message coming in was logged. But the key person here was the local postmaster.
The manager of the station.
Yes, but with a very specific title, the Sahib al-Barid.
Okay, so the Sahib al-Barid, more than just a postmaster sorting mail, what was their real job?
Fundamentally, espionage.
Wow, okay.
The Sahib al-Barid wasn't a local hire. They were appointed directly by the central government in Baghdad. They reported only up the chain, maybe to the caliph's vizier or a dedicated minister of the post.
So they were physically in the province, but politically they were outsiders, loyal only to the center.
Precisely. And their job was systematic intelligence gathering.
Like what? What were they looking for?
Everything. Local gossip, whispers of discontent, the general mood, prices of grain, bread, basic goods, any signs of approaching famine.
Things that could cause trouble.
Exactly. And critically, any hint that the local governor was getting too powerful, maybe skimming taxes or, worst case, plotting rebellion.
So it's like the ultimate internal audit system.
Yeah.
Baked right into the communication network.
You got it. It meant Baghdad had independent verification of what was really happening out there.
So the governor sends his report saying everything's great.
But the Sahib al-Barid's report arrives maybe a couple of days later, giving the caliph the uncensored truth.
That is a massive strategic advantage. It basically shifts a Abbasid rule from being reactive to proactive.
Totally. They didn't have to wait for a full-blown crisis. They got the early warnings.
Like a grain shortage in Khorasan causing unrest.
The caliph knows almost instantly. He can send relief or maybe just replace the governor before things boil over.
That speed of information, it effectively shrinks the empire, doesn't it?
In a way, yes. It shortens the effective distance between the center and the borders. It strengthens central control dramatically.
It makes the whole thing much more resilient against the kind of fragmentation that just plagued earlier empires.
Right. It's hard to plot a rebellion when the caliph might know about it almost as soon as you start whispering.
Okay, so it's clear the Abbasids perfected this, integrated it deep into their state. But where did the idea come from? They didn't just invent it overnight, did they?
No. They were brilliant synthesizers, really. The basic ideas had roots in earlier systems.
Like who?
Well, most notably, the ancient Persian Achaemenid Empire. They had an impressive royal road and messenger system.
Yeah.
And possibly elements were borrowed from the Byzantine state courier system, the dromos. But those earlier systems were mostly focused on the ruler, royal messages, military stuff.
So what did the Abbasids do differently?
They scaled it up exponentially. And this is key, they embedded it structurally into the entire civilian government.
Ah, not just for the caliph's personal mail.
Right. They took existing routes, sure, but they systematized the relays, they formally budgeted for it, and they codified that role of the Sahib al-Barid as a permanent intelligence function.
Making it a tool for total state oversight, not just royal convenience.
Exactly. Comprehensive.
Okay, if it was such a powerful tool for keeping control, why did it eventually fall apart? Did it get conquered or just fade?
It mostly faded. It was a victim of the slow erosion of the very central power it was designed to support.
The irony.
Isn't it? By the 10th, 11th centuries, the caliphate starts to fragment politically. You get regional dynasties asserting more independence.
Right.
And when that happens, the central treasury in Baghdad, well, it struggles to fund this incredibly complex continent-spanning system.
It needed constant, massive investment.
Exactly. Maintaining thousands of stations, thousands of horses, staff. It only works if tax money is flowing smoothly back to the center.
And as local rulers kept more taxes for themselves?
They also started building their own smaller regional postal systems. So the big central barid lost its network effect, its reach, and just sort of declined. Fell into disrepair in many places.
But the core idea, the principle of a state-run, high-speed info network,
Yeah.
that didn't just disappear, did it?
Oh, absolutely not. The legacy is huge. Later Muslim states built on it.
Like who?
The Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt and Syria, for instance, they had an incredible system using pigeons and horse relays, often running along the old Abbasid routes.
Wow, pigeons too.
Yeah, and the Ottoman Empire's communication systems later on also clearly drew from this logistical DNA.
Okay, and outside the Islamic world.
Well, here's a really crucial global connection that shows just how brilliant the barid structure was. Think about the Mongol Empire.
Okay, Genghis Khan, the Silk Road, speed and movement.
Exactly. Their legendary courier system, the Yam network, that exploded across Eurasia in the 13th century.
Yeah.
When historians look closely at the Yam, the structural similarities to the Abbasid barid are striking.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
The Mongols copied the Abbasid system.
Well, maybe not copied directly, but the model was incredibly similar. The Yam was basically the barid model, almost like on steroids, adapted for the vast Eurasian steppe.
How so? What was similar?
Like the barid, the Yam had fixed staging posts, they called them Yams, at regular intervals,
Okay.
pre-stocked with fresh horses, food, supplies, staffed by people whose only job was rapid message transfer.
Same relay principle.
Exactly the same. Both systems prioritized state and military messages over anything else, and both were fundamental to controlling enormous territories. The barid through administration, the Yam through military might.
That's incredible. A system pioneered in the Middle East, influencing the Mongols centuries later.
Shows the power of a good logistical idea, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? When we step back and look at the Abbasid barid, it wasn't just some historical footnote.
Not at all. It was foundational.
Yeah, it was a core piece of statecraft that really defined that era. We've seen it was this huge strategic investment.
Right. Supporting the military, taxes, but also, crucially, trade and market efficiency across just colossal distances.
And for centuries, it set a standard, a global standard for fast, reliable communication that, kingdoms in Europe just couldn't match.
Not until much later, really. Not until national postal systems started emerging in the early modern period.
So the big takeaway.
I think the enduring lesson is profound. The Abbasids grasped something fundamental. Information is power, yeah, but speed is the multiplier on that power.
Speed multiplies power.
I consciously poured massive resources into making sure they got the news faster than anyone else, and that created a political cohesion and administrative reach that helped their empire last.
Which leaves you, our listener, with maybe this final thought to chew on. The barid is this amazing historical case study where physical speed, literally how fast a horse could run between stations, directly translated into centralized political and economic control.
Yeah.
Now think about today. We live in an age where data is supposedly king, right? Where algorithms trade stocks in microseconds.
Yeah, the speed is almost instantaneous now.
But consider how that relentless pursuit of the fastest possible access, whether it was that horse swap back in 800 CE or shaving milliseconds off a transatlantic data cable today,
Right.
how that fundamental drive for speed still defines who has control, who has the edge.
It's still the same game, just different technology.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the history of communication and logistics.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
We really encourage you to keep digging into these foundational systems. They tell us so much about how our world came to be.